Howdy, my name's Jeremy, and tonight we're going to talk about moonshine. We're going to talk about the still out and back. So here's a little bit of music.
The still.
It's just to get in the mood. So we're talking about the still, is that right?
We actually don't own a still. Although I'm sure you'd like to make gin.
You said we were going to talk about the still. We're stilling.
Distilling.
Distill. You said distill.
Distilling. We're talking about distilling, and we're talking about floral waters and how Young Living, well, how any essential oil company makes floral waters, but in particular Young Living, because Young Living has this new set of floral waters that come from their farm in Provence in France, Simeon-la-Rotonde, which is named, the place is named after this round castle that's actually the Young Living shop. So,
Do you know what Simeon-la-Rotonde actually means?
Something round?
Simon the Fat.
Oh.
The round, yeah. Anyway,
The round,
so,
that's
yeah.
what I thought it meant.
Yeah.
So, anyway.
So it's not about the still as such. Although we are talking about distilling, aren't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So, the reason I wanted to do this topic is because a few of you have asked me about the floral waters and if you can use them instead of the oil. Okay, so we wanted to answer some of those questions and we thought we'd talk about how floral waters are actually made.
Okay.
All right, so...
And what they actually are.
Yeah, so what they are. Now, the thing is, with floral waters, how Young Living and most essential oil companies make them is they are kind of like the waste product. Well, these days they are the waste product from the essential oil production. So what happens is Young Living and other essential oil companies get the lavender, the rosemary, the peppermint, whatever it is, and they cook it up in big cookers, and then this they basically heat it up and the steam rises, and when the steam rises it goes out of the cooker because the steam's really light, and it goes down into like a cooling, it's called a condenser, and it cools down the oil. And then what happens, well, cools down the steam, and the steam turns from being a gas into being a liquid, and that liquid has two parts to it. One is the floral water, so that's the water, and because oil is lighter than water, it's why oil and water don't mix. Like if you are doing the washing up and you wash something oily, you'll see oil will float on the top of the water. Same as in the bathtub, it floats on the top if you drop essential oils or any kind of oil in the bathtub. So oil and water don't mix. So the oil will float on the top and the water underneath is actually the floral water. Okay, now the proper name for that is actually called a hydrosol,
Yep.
as Jeremy learnt tonight. But not all hydrosols are floral waters. Is that true, Jeremy?
Yeah, so I'm going to take you back a little bit to the medieval times, because originally when people wanted to get the benefits of plants and stuff, they would actually boil them up, which makes total sense because that was all they knew to do. The funny thing about that is that they'd boil it up, they'd actually ignore the essential oils that were part of that whole deal. They were just worried about the water. But over time, people have realized the benefits of essential oil and the fact that when you boil it up and then condense it, you can separate out the two. And so for quite a long while in the 20th century, they were actually just getting rid of the flower water, the hydrosol, and just pumping that down the plug hole and just worrying about the essential oil. What we've realized now is that actually both these things have benefits. So the hydrosol actually still has a lot of the goodness of the plants. It has a little bit of essential oil in it that's still infused into the water, but it has a lot of the benefits that the plants have.
But milder. So
Milder,
they're particularly good for using with children or the elderly or on skin if you've got sensitivities, things like that, because they're a lot milder than the actual oil itself.
And you notice that with the smell of them. They're not quite as intense as essential oil straight out of the bottle.
Well, and they tend to smell a lot earthier. So because it's sort of like more like the plant matter, whereas the oil is far more concentrated, and obviously that's why we dilute and things like that, whereas the floral waters, we don't need to do that. So the thing is, when I was lucky enough a few years ago
That's right, yeah.
to visit Simeon-la-Rotonde farm in Provence, the Young Living farm, I actually got to witness the lavender being distilled. And
That wasn't all, though, was it? You had a close encounter with it, didn't you? The floral water?
Well, I've swum in floral waters,
Yeah.
but not at the Simula Rotonde
okay.
farm.
Sorry.
I've actually swum in the Melissa floral waters. When you get to go to the farm in St. Marie's in Idaho, where Jeremy and I have been to the tree farm, the farms that, well, it wasn't even at the tree farm, it's at the St. Marie's
Yep.
farm. And you actually, what they do is they pump the floral water straight from distilling Melissa or whatever they're distilling into big tanks, and then they fill up spa baths, and you get to actually swim in the spa. They do the same thing at the Ylang farm in Ecuador. And I got to do that, not last year, the year before. Swimming in the floral waters is an amazing experience. Just imagine having an essential oil bath like 100 times over.
Yeah.
A lot of people actually have detox type reactions because the floral water that they pump into the baths is, it's still got all those amazing qualities of the essential oils. So yeah, that was an amazing
Sounds
experience
fantastic,
to
yeah.
swim in the floral water. So you want to get to one of these farms and go and visit them and see the distillation and see the floral water. So this is one of the floral waters, which is the lavender floral water. So as we said, they cook it up and the steam rises, and when the water and oil separate, they scoop the oil off the top, and what's left is the floral waters. Now, more and more Young Living is moving towards obviously being a sustainable company and trying to not have a waste product. So on a lot of Young Living's farms, what they do is they, apart from pumping it into big tanks where you can swim in the floral waters, but they try to use it on the farm. So they might use it to cool the condensers, and that's what they were doing on the tree farm, the Highland Flats farm up in Idaho. They were using the water from the floral water. So they were kind of making it a whole system, if you like. So the water was constantly flowing around the system. So they weren't, having to put water out into the environment or anything like that. Young Living, obviously, in the past, I've been at different farms, and they've used the floral waters to spray the plants to, keep away things. And so, the floral waters have all kinds of different benefits. And so this is the lavender one. So it comes from the Lavandula angustifolia plant. So the true English lavender, although I think of it as French because it comes from the French lavender farm, and so it's great for all things that you would use lavender for. So as a sheet spray on your sheets and your pillows, spray it in your towels, in your linen cupboard. You can spray it on your face, to you can keep it in the fridge so that we're really hot here today because we had to just shut the windows because it was pouring with rain.
And some idiots wearing a checked shirt. Yeah.
You wouldn't have heard
Flannel
us.
shirt.
But, you can keep this in the fridge, and, should you have a day out in the sun, things like that, you can give it a good spray. But great even as a toner for your skin. So that's the lavender one.
So this comes in a set of 3.
Yeah, a
is that
set
right?
of 3, okay?
Can I hold up the box? It's pretty cute.
I guess the other thing that I thought Jeremy was going to mention before when we talked
sorry.
about the hydrosols being different from floral waters. So we call hydrosols floral waters, but hydrosols are the actual steam distilled. Whereas you can buy rose water or, it's
Lavender water.
Yeah, that actually isn't a hydrosol. It isn't the byproduct of the distillation of essential oils. They basically have just added essential oil to water.
Or synthetic essential oils. to
Yes.
water, yeah.
So Jeremy was reading earlier today about citrus
Yeah, if you get orange hydrosol,
or orange floral water.
yeah, it's not
Orange
because
water.
it's not because orange essential oil is pressed.
Yeah,
out
it's
of
cold pressed.
Cold pressed. That's what I was looking for. So to say that you have orange hydrosol or orange floral water is actually wrong. The only way they can do that is by using other solvents. So,
Or orange water,
Yeah.
where they've just added orange oil to water.
Yeah.
Same with a lot of rose water that
Yeah.
you'll buy on the market. It's not the byproduct of the steam distillation of rose essential oil petals. It's actually just had rose, either rose petals crushed up and put into water, or maybe if you're lucky, some rose oil added to water. But it's not usually the floral.
But there's not
water
going to be much rose.
No, that you're
essential
buying.
oil, yeah.
The rosemary one, great for your hair. I've just spritzed it on my hair, to give it a little bit of
nice.
shine. But anything that you would use rosemary for. So remember that in, I can't remember if it's, I think it's Ophelia. Oh, it's from Shakespeare. Anyway, they say that rosemary is for remembrance. And that's what I think. I think if I want to remember something, so if I'm concentrating, you could use these as room spritzers. So you could spritz around the room. So before your kids go to bed, if you're camping or something and you can't take a diffuser, take the floral water.
To all the students out there, just you can imagine before the exam.
Yeah, so rosemary oil. But
Just
great
not
for
in the
your
eyes.
hair, okay? You can even add some cedar wood and stuff, great for guys' hair. You can't really see, but there's a lot of mist. I don't know, can't get it to come out, but it comes out of that. So great for clarity. If if you want clarity or focus,
Smells
that kind
good.
of stuff, rosemary.
You smell
And
like a lamb roast now.
I do. And the last one is the helichrysum one. So helichrysum, Young Living sources most of their helichrysum from their Dalmatia farm in Croatia, which once again we have. I feel like I'm name dropping
Yeah,
tonight.
no, we've had the privilege of visiting. That was beautiful.
So we went and saw the
Absolutely
helichrysum being distilled, and they have a distillery. But this helichrysum, so in the beginning, before Young Living had the helichrysm farm in Dalmatia, well, just outside Split in Croatia, they actually used to source their helichrysm oil from Corsica. And Jean Noel, who is actually Nicholas Landell, Nicholas Landell's now the farm manager of the Provence farm, the Semilla Rotonde farm, and his dad, he actually used to say that the world's best helichrysum oil actually came from Corsica, up in the hills of Corsica, and so that's where Young Living used to source it. And they sourced it for many years, and then all of a sudden there was a massive shortage of helichrysum oil on Corsica for a couple of reasons. One is, they started farming other things, but the other thing is that they were just over harvesting it. It was all wild crafted, which means they literally were going around and picking, like people got licenses and they could go around and they could pick a certain amount, but it was so in demand that people were over harvesting it, and so that's what put helichrysum actually on the endangered list. And so when Gary learnt about this, and he learnt what was happening to helichrysum on Corsica, and helichrysum also grows in Provence in France. It certainly grows around the Semilla Rotonde, like the village with the round castle that I talked about before, grows around there. You can actually see it growing. But the thing is, these days, Young Living grows a lot of their helichrysum in Croatia because Gary bought a farm there with really rich limestone soils, beautiful little pebbles, because he worked out that helichrysum likes to grow in really rocky areas, but it prefers pebbles to big rocks. There's this wind that keeps the butterflies away, which are the main pest for helichrysum. Yep. But this helichrysum floral water is not actually from the Croatia farm. It is from from France. Okay, so if you want to try French helichrysum as opposed to Croatian helichrysum, then you should try the floral water. But you still get those amazing benefits. The true name, when we went to France, you wouldn't see helichrysum on an essential oil bottle. Do you remember what you'd see?
No.
They call it the everlasting daisy, but
Everlasting,
the other name is immortal.
Yeah.
Okay, so you'll often see immortal as in perfumes or recipe, an ingredient in skincare, because it is amazing. It turns back time, ladies. So if you want beautiful, immortal skin, then you should add this to your beauty regime. This and the lavender make amazing additions. So you can use them as a toner on your skin. You can just spritz them throughout the day. So those beautiful benefits are getting into your skin from the lavender and from the immortal oil. And if you've got a teenager in your house and they've got teenage skin, so you know what I'm saying, okay, you get the gist, then you need the rosemary one, because the rosemary one is particularly good for teenage skin, teenage unhappy skin, okay? So that's the 3 floral waters that you get in the set. That's what they do. They're a mild version of the oil, but you're still going to get some of the beautiful benefits, particularly for your skin and for your hair, and for concentration.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Do they still have sandalwood?
Hydrosol, they do, and that is the hydrosol. That is the floral water from the distillation of in our case, it's from the Royal Hawaiian sandalwood.
Because people rave about that too.
That's great for your skin as well. Yep. So imagine, just using these.
Okay. Well, so we're not talking about the still.
No.
That's just the secret between you.
Yeah. You'll have to find another still to distill your gin.
Alrighty, you guys.
And some juniper.
It's been nice seeing you and spending time with you. If you have any comments, put them put them below. And if you have any suggestions about what you would like us to talk about, we're always open to that, aren't we?
Yeah. And don't forget about the Darwin incentive that Young Living has got going, because you could see the blue cypress actually being distilled. And imagine taking home some floral water from the blue cypress farm.
And some freshly distilled blue cypress.
Yeah, that's right. All right, we'll see you next week. Thanks, guys.
See you guys.